passing of Mr. Lynn Washlighter last week. He was the owner of Carpet One on Capitol Circle. And not only was he a long-time NEBA member, but he was actually a founding member and the very first board member of NEBA. Lynn will certainly be missed by his family, friends, and of course his NEBA family. And in honor of Lynn, I would like to pause for a quick moment of silence in his honor. Services for Lynn will be held tomorrow is the visitation. That will be held at the Beavis Funeral Home from 6 to 8 p.m. The funeral will be at Trinity Methodist Church at 11 a.m. on Thursday. And in lieu of flowers, they asked for donations, and NEBA has made a donation in his honor to the Children's Home Society. And if any of you are able, I encourage you to do the same. Now I'd like to go ahead and make a quick introduction. Of course, our speakers are here, and Mr. Ted Thomas will come up here and formally introduce and quick bio of each one. On my left, out of retirement from the last few meetings, we do have Mr. Ted Thomas back. Board member Maureen Thompson. And now going around the room, I did see a few elected officials. So if y'all would please rise, quick introduction. And on behalf of NEBA, thank you all for coming. Commissioner Maddox, Commissioner Ziffer, Saul, anyone else, please?
All right, let's get down with the program. We're going to have three speakers in this order. First, we're going to speak with David Byrne, then Abby McIver, and then Susan Glickman. Let me first I'll introduce each of them as they come up to the podium. David Byrne is Assistant City Manager of Electricity for the City of Tallahassee. He has returned to the area after a long period with the private sector energy marketing. In all, David has over 24 years of service with the City of Tallahassee and nearly 30 years in the marketing of engineering business. In his current work with the City of Tallahassee, David is responsible for electric transmission and generation planning, alternate energy, and energy efficiency. His focus is providing for future energy needs for our community. To introduce David Byrne. David.
Let me just start right off by talking about the City of Tallahassee's interest in pursuing solar energy. We have been, I think, at least since I've been with the organization, 25 years almost, a leader in clean energy, energy efficiency, and renewable energy. We have one of the cleanest electric generation fleets burning all natural gas. We have a hydro facility. We've been promoting solar energy with our customers since the 1980s. And now we are engaging in what is one of the largest solar energy projects in the state to date. And I want to tell you about our activities there. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of the layout of the land, the city has been operating power plants in 3 locations. One up here on the west side of town, our Hopkins power plant. We have about 500 megawatts of power there. And then down in St. Mark's we have, which was actually our first power plant site, started up building in the 1950s. We have 240 megawatts of power supply down there in St. Mark's. And we have out on the west end of the Lake Talquin, a dam producing hydro energy, 11 megawatts of power over there. So that's our current system. Now where the star is here, located at the Tallahassee Airport, is the site of the new solar project that I want to tell you about. And so what we're doing right now is we're in the process of building this project, and when it is completed in December, we're going to have 20 megawatts of solar energy, enough to provide power for about 3,400 homes in Tallahassee. The way we're engaging with this project is we've contracted with a solar development company called Origis Energy, and they will be actually building, operating, and owning this project. The City of Tallahassee will be buying the energy that it produces. So any kilowatt hour of energy produced from the solar plant, we will be purchasing, and we will only be purchasing those kilowatt hours that are produced The reason that we went into the deal this way rather than owning the project outright, well, there were two reasons. One, there's an opportunity in the marketplace to save money through tax credits, and only a tax-paying corporation is eligible to receive the tax credits. So the city, being a government, cannot. But through a purchase through another entity, we can take effectively the savings of the tax credits that are available. Second, buying the energy on a purchase agreement reduces the risk to the city. And the city doesn't want to put its utility customers at the risk of developing a project, especially a newer type project that may have some uncertainty about its operations in the future. So we'll only be buying the energy that it produces as part of this agreement. At this point, all of the permitting has been completed and the project has gone to construction. If you go down to Tallahassee Airport, down Spring Hill roadside towards near where the control tower is, you would be able to see now that the structures are being put in place. Panels, and that first panel, that is the first panel of about 100,000 panels that are going to be installed on this site. And the site is large. They're going to be covering about 90 acres on a 120-acre site. That extra space, why not 120 acres of solar? Because around the edges, you need to leave room so that the trees don't shadow onto the project. Then that would, when they shadow, then the project output would be cut off by the lack of sun. And as I said, we'll be supplying energy to about 3,400 homes with this project. And what the city has done is we've created a new solar customer program, which it's called Tallahassee Solar, and I do have this brochure that talks about it. It's up at the front of the table. I'll try to get them out to you, or you can pick one up afterwards. But it talks about how you as a customer can participate by purchasing a portion or all of the energy that you use from the solar project. And in the course of doing that, what we've done is established a fixed price that replaces what we call the energy portion on your bill with the solar energy instead. And that's being put in at 5 cents per kilowatt hour. Right now, that's just a little bit higher than what our current energy rate is, or those of you in the industry will know that as the ECRC, or the energy cost recovery. And that 5 cents is going to be fixed for 20 years. So to the extent you think that energy prices may be higher in the future, you can lock in your price for 20 years by engaging in our solar program. I think we have a lot of customers very interested in that. As far as I can tell right now, over 1,000 people have signed up for the program. And the first 20 megawatts of the project is about fully subscribed by our customers at this point in time. And that is what I have to say.
Thank you. Our next speaker, this is a forum where we have more than one position, whether you like solar or don't like solar. And our next speaker is going to talk about other options other than solar, and hopefully she'll give these guys some fits. So we like that. We like the fact that we're going to challenge some of these initiatives in our community so that we can come up really with the best solution. So our next speaker is Abby McIver. I just want to clarify you, it's not MacGyver, it's McIver, and she doesn't have any magic tricks, but I want to tell you, Barney, when we get to questions and answers, you better be nice. You see this pen? She could hurt you. No, I just thought I'd let you know that. I'm for you guys, it's right here. I got you. All right, having said that, let's move on. Abby, we're delighted to have you here. Abby was born and raised in Tallahassee and has been working in state government and the political process for about 15 years. Abby is the former vice president of the Partnership for Affordable Clean Energy, PACE, a C4 devoted to fair, affordable energy policies that protect consumers, and former deputy director of the Policy and External Affairs for the Florida chapter of the American for Prosperity and AFP Foundation. Prior to AFP, Abby served in the Florida Senate, including 5 years as chief of staff for Senator Lee Constantine from Central Florida, where he worked on a variety of issues, including a strong focus on communication and public utilities, environmental preservation, ethics, and elections. and judiciary committees, chaired by Senator Committee. It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Abby McIver.
Thank you. As Ted mentioned, I am born and raised in Tallahassee, so this is my hometown. Do want to start out by pointing out, though, I actually do like solar, so if everyone was hoping that I was going to come in here and say that solar is this terrible thing, I'm sorry to disappoint. I think solar, along with all of the different types of energy that are constantly being improved upon and advanced, their advanced energy technologies, are wonderful things and are things that we need to be talking about and need to be figuring out how to incorporate into our lives. The questions that I have is just always, is it smart? It's good. Is it a smart decision? From a business perspective, from a homeowner perspective, I just had a baby girl. She's 3 months old. And so, every dollar, every cent is always something that I'm counting because there's something else that dollar or cent could be spent on. And as a business owner, I know you go through the same thing when you're building your business. It's making sure, that every single decision is a very calculated decision, because every dollar and every cent is going to make a difference in your business growing or not growing, making a profit or not making a profit. And so ultimately my question is always just, how do we make these decisions, or how do you, even as business owners, make the decisions, or us as a community when it comes to City of Tallahassee or any city government, make these decisions and make sure that they're smart decisions that make financial sense for us, not just environmental sense. It's good to see a project like this one. It actually brings out a good point. One of the benefits of doing a large-scale solar project like this is that it costs about half as much as it would cost to put solar on your rooftop. The larger a project gets, the more cost-efficient it gets. And so they're able to build a project of this size for a lot less than a smaller project on a house or on a personal business would cost. And so, but that's one of the things that as a business owner you have to be able to take, even just the small difference in a utility bill for this project, though, it still is somewhat of a price increase. It's still going to cost you a little bit more if you enroll in the solar project and take a 5 cent per kilowatt hour fuel charge versus a 3.3 cent per kilowatt fuel charge. That will cost you more depending on how much your electric bill is every single month. It could be a small amount of money, or it could be a very large amount of money. And so it's really kind of a personal decision when it comes to a homeowner or when it comes to a business owner. How will this impact you? And some business owners and some homeowners make the decision, even if the financial aspect means it's going to cost them a little bit more, that they want to do it anyways because there's other benefits to it. It's clean, it's green, it makes them happy and feel good. They're contributing something good to the environment and to the community. So they decide, well, it's worth it to spend a little bit more to utilize solar energy versus utilizing a different type of energy, or just utilizing more traditional lower cost energy. So these are just all questions that I think we have to be honestly discussing whenever we're talking solar energy or any other energy project. We can't, sometimes those issues get glossed over and end up not being part of the discussion because solar is good. The majority of people like solar. I tend to think that the solar industry has become a little too reliant on subsidies over the last many years, and that actually hurts the industry as a whole, because it's not quite as market competitive as it might be if the subsidies had been lessened. I know a lot of people in the solar industry probably disagree with me on that one, but would the cost of solar be a little bit lower if the government hadn't been subsidizing it? I think it probably would be. We have instances happening now. There is a tariff being proposed to be applied to solar panels coming from outside the United States. Part of the reason why the cost of solar has been driven down so much over the last couple of decades has been the influx of solar panels, lower cost solar panels coming from outside of the United States. China is what you get, what you hear frequently, but a number of other countries as well produce very low cost solar panels, and so that has driven down the cost of solar. And what will this tariff, if it is applied, do to the cost of solar? The Solar Energy Industry Association has said it could double the cost of solar panels. That could be really detrimental, not only to individuals wanting to put solar on their home, but utility large-scale projects could also be highly impacted and become much less cost-effective than they are today. So what do all of those policies do? And I mentioned this a little bit when I was talking with Catherine prior to the meeting starting. If we hadn't been so heavily subsidizing the solar industry in this country and the prices were already lower, would the impact of a tariff on these solar panels from outside the country hurt us as bad? Would it hurt the industry as badly, or would they be able to be a little bit more resilient towards that increased cost? So, I mean, I think it's worth a discussion constantly to just have an open and honest dialogue about what the realities are, when it's cost effective, when it might not be, and not just always have this assumption that because solar is good and because it's green and because it's clean, it's the best, without also discussing the facts or the other things that have to be taken into consideration.
Thank you, Abby. Our next speaker is Susan Glickman. Susan came up from Tampa to be our guest speaker, so we sincerely appreciate that. Susan is the Florida Director of Southern Alliance for Clean Energy and the Southern Alliance for the Clean Energy Fund. SAC works to promote energy, smart energy choices for clean, safe, and healthy communities throughout the Southeast, and not just Florida. Susan is a longtime consultant to the Natural Resource Defense Council. She was the U.S. Southern Regional Director for the Climate Group, a London-based NGO. What does NGO stand for?
Non-governmental organization.
Non-governmental organization working with Fortune 500 companies. She also developed and directed the Florida Business Network for Clean Energy Economy. Working to advance public health, too, is one of her interests. Susan was a consultant to the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids in our community and worked with Congress to get that through the Food and Drug Administration. Susan is currently a commissioner with the Florida Commission on Volunteer Service, better known as Florida Volunteer Florida. She is founding chair of the Florida Commission on the Status of Women. A Florida native, Susan holds a Bachelor of Science degree in speech communication from Texas University at Austin. Please give her a warm NEBA welcome.
I think I want to meet Ted's wife. She sounds like she's awesome. Yeah, I bet. Thank you very much, Catherine. It's an honor to be here with a network of entrepreneurs and business advocates. And I'm here today to champion the free market. I'm here today to champion competition, entrepreneurship, innovation, and American ingenuity. And I'm fighting an industry that's outdated in many ways, but uses political contributions and money to support organizations and front groups to maintain the status quo. This is not new. General Motors bought up the rail tracks when they were introducing automobiles. We're an exciting crossroads, though. Marshall Kreitzer, who's now the head of the Board of Governors, was also on Volunteer Florida, and we used to commiserate together. He was the head of AT&T, and he would say, we fought deregulation, and now we make more money than we ever thought possible, and we are all benefiting from the advances in telecommunications. One of the things, I've been working on energy and climate issues for a really long time now, 1999. And one of the things that was interesting when I first started is they always separated out the notion of the electric side, electric utilities, and the transportation side. And now one of the most exciting things where we're going to see the greatest advances and the greatest savings is in the cross-section of electrification of transportation, along with ride sharing and autonomous vehicles as well. It's far more efficient to drive an electric vehicle than it is a gas-driven engine. It costs a lot less to repair those vehicles as well. My job just got easier, and both David and Abby have said it, frankly. The cost of solar has come down. It doesn't cost more, and while solar itself isn't free, because you need the delivery mechanism for solar, the fuel is free. So Tallahassee is only my second home, and there are a number of people in the room here that I worked very closely with, particularly around the area of 2007. Steve Verse, I'm looking at you. Gil Ziffer, I'm looking at you. Led by Mayor Marks and others, where the city of Tallahassee fought vociferously to be partners in a coal-fired power plant that was to be built in Perry, Florida. It's interesting, Mary Ann Lindley was editorial editor at the Tallahassee Democrat, and she wrote an editorial, one of my very favorite lines, which was, why would the city of Tallahassee buy into a high-end fax machine? Because things are changing. Florida sends $58 billion every year out of state to bring in fuel from elsewhere. Imagine what we would do for economic development in our local communities if we keep those energy dollars here at home. And again, while solar, the delivery system isn't free, the fuel source is. The reason that the city of Tallahassee wanted to be involved in a coal-fired power plant is that they are completely invested in natural gas. And it's one of those funny things where some moments you can look like a genius and other times you look like you made a really bad business decision. Well, at the time, natural gas prices were super high. They are volatile. And yes, natural gas prices are lower now, but they will go up. And David, that's one of the reasons why people in your community like the idea of buying in for 20 years. Because is there anybody in the room that knows exactly what natural gas prices are going to be doing 20 years from now? If you do, come on over here, we will go get lottery tickets and we'll work that out. We really don't know that. So as I mentioned, the cost for solar has come down exponentially. The biggest utility in the state of Florida is Florida Power.It. 75% of Florida is covered by investor-owned utilities. So they are, sort of the big animal. They deliver lots and lots of political contributions, and they sort of drive the process here. Well, Next Era, Florida Power.It's parent company, just signed a groundbreaking agreement with the Tucson utility for solar at 3.5 cents a kilowatt hour. David just mentioned 5 cents, and 4.5 cents with battery storage. So no one should stand in here and tell me solar's not 24/7 and solar's not baseload. When you have batteries, it is. 4.5 cents is lower cost than a new natural gas plant. It does make business sense. That's why in my community, 2 of the beer distributors have put solar up on their cold storage facilities. And it's a 6-year payback. I myself have just signed up for solar through the FL Sun. Those are the solar co-ops. It's a partnership of the League of Women Voters and Community Power Network. And I even upgraded to the American panels at $1.79 a watt, which is extraordinary. And it's a 4.2-year payback for a residence. That is amazing. That is cheaper than a new natural gas plant. So there are a lot of advantages to solar. In fact, I'm getting the Sunny Boy inverter, and next time my electricity goes out in a hurricane, which is increasingly likely, I get to hit the disconnect switch and I can operate my refrigerator, not necessarily all of the household, but on my solar coming directly into the home. The last thing I want to say is about the subsidies, because I do need to sort of set the record straight a little bit on that. So yes, there's a tax credit for solar, but we've had coal subsidies in this country since 1932. And the coal industry is financed through 250 different mechanisms. In 2010, the Energy Information Agency said that there were $557 billion in subsidies for fossil fuels, but $43 billion for renewables. So that's only about 1/10 of the amount of money. So certainly there are subsidies in industries and so forth, but the fossil fuel industry has been certainly more significantly subsidized. So with that, I know we're going to take some questions.
Thank you, Susan.
All right. Like Ted said, we do appreciate you all coming, especially
you
coming
for
from
having
Tampa.
us.
Thank you all for coming.